city up. I could flip a dollar to $1 million. I don't like to brag, but I'm really on. 3, 2, 1. Anywhere I'm at, turn the city up. 3, 2, 1. I don't like to brag, but I'm really on. It's a new day, days been new. Been a decade since I made it out of rental. We some owners, baby, we don't got no rent due. Might trick, but my wife, you like to trick too. Merry Christmas, hey, Saint Nick. What we want, get, we on wait list. How we got here doesn't make sense. Have patience, that'll make sense. 3, 2, 1. Anywhere I'm at, turn the city up. I could flip a dollar to $1 million. I don't like to brag, but I'm really on. 3, 2, 1. Anywhere I'm at, turn the city up. 3, 2, 1. I don't like to brag, but I'm really on. Picking up the slack, joining this prime way, I'm getting to the rack. I do what I want, when I want, where I want, no cap. Put in all work, now I'm getting to the back. 25-8, I got money on my mind. Live life great, but I'm always on the grind. Navy blue tank, I don't wear it for the time. Real hustler, baby, throw my rollie in the sky.
Get ready for blast off.
Ball pointing cushy, so you know it's berserk. Trevor on the mix, so you know we gon' work. I might leave in one, find the beach and go surf. I'ma ride the wave till I'm out of this earth. 3, 2, 1. Anywhere I'm at, turn the city up. I could flip a dollar to $1 million. I don't like to brag, but I'm really on. 3, 2, 1. Anywhere I'm at, turn the city up. 3, 2, 1. I don't like to brag, but I'm really.
You must
have got me. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What's going on? Another episode. Black Men Unfiltered Networks, flipping tables on Tuesday. Y'all know how we get down. Hey, listen, I got my partner in crime here, my co-host, the velvet voice of YouTube in the building tonight. Lost in translation. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, man.
Come on inside and get yourself something cool.
Hey, man. What's happening?
Good to see you, my guy. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too, man. How you doing today, brother?
Man, you know, I'm sunshine and partly cloudy, man, with a chance of lightning and thunderstorms over here, man. But we making it, brother. We pushing forward. What about yourself?
I am well. I'm well. Looking forward to today's conversation, man. Really am.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. We got a great gentleman in the building tonight that's ready and willing to have this conversation, man. And I am going to enjoy every bit of it. Like, listen, now I'm going to talk. We're going to tell you guys, me and Dr. Kevin are going to tell you guys how we know each other after the show. We're not going to tell you before. We're going to tell y'all after, right? Because I want y'all to know after the show. We're going to tell y'all. All right. Y'all ain't going to believe it. Y'all not going to believe it, how we know each other. But again, man, it's good to see you, man. We got Curtis Moore in the building. We got King Libra in the building tonight, man. And so what I want to do is, guys, some house rules. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Any questions that you may have, please put them in the chat and hit the share button as well. Also, guys, last week we had a lot of really, really, really good shows. One of the shows that stuck out to me last week, man, I mean, the week before that, if you guys have not seen the show with Felicia on Sundays, she did an interview with Mr. Bennett and Freezy. And if you guys did not get a chance to see that show on this network, you missed out on something great. Those men really opened up about parenting parents, how they took care of their parents when their parents were ailing and or in hospice care. And man, so if you guys didn't see that episode, it was something else, man. I'm gonna put it on the replay. I'm gonna put it in the replay bracket because it's got to be shown again. I may play it on Sunday for you guys, a replay on Sunday, because Felicia will not be here on Sunday. All right, so go check that out. Also on Thursday nights, man, Make sure you check out my boy, man, my brother from another mother. He's gonna have y'all a good Valentine's Day show coming up on Thursday on Bama Talk, Lost in Translation, who's sitting right here beside me. Make sure you guys come in and tune into that at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Tuesdays. Y'all know Flipping Tables Monday. We got Mr. Boomer. All right, he'll be up here tonight with us as well. Mr. Boomer with our pain. And then on Friday, we got Barbershop Talk where all the guys come in and have that conversation. On Sunday, we have Miss Felicia at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time with the plug. And then on Sunday night, we have the gray area with Mr. Bennett and Peter when they talk about that culture talk. So, guys, you make sure you come in and tune in to that. So, without further ado, man, I want to bring up none other than the doctor himself. All right, Dr. Kevin R. Johnson is in the building tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, put your damn hands together.
Hello, hello, hello. I feel like y'all have invited a square into the building.
What's going on, man? What's going on? Hold on, let me get you up. I'm gonna get up out of here. Hold on, let me get you over here, man. All right, let's see. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right, man. It's good to see you tonight, man. Good to see you, my brother. Now, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started. Anything else? We want to first of all, how are you tonight? How's your family?
Doing well, and I'm honored to be here. Love to have these conversations, and love that this space has been created to have difficult coming together conversations. So,
yeah, man. All right, it's good to see you, brother. And so, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where you went to school, where you got your doctrine, so on and so forth, man. Tell us what you do. You know, if you can go into some of those things about what you do and all those things. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I will warn you, I do talk for a living, so I won't
have your way.
terribly long. But I will just simply say this. I do have to give this disclaimer that I'm not on here representing any organization or anyone I work for or have contracted with or that I'm affiliated with. I am here representing Dr. Kevin R. Johnson Sr. only, so I do have to give that disclaimer. But I am a Texas transplant. I'm actually from Monroe, Louisiana. As I mentioned in some of the promos that I've sent out to some of my friends, is that I am a product of a single family household. I'm the youngest of 7. I am what they thought was the youngest of 21, but that's a whole nother story. And you can definitely get into that later because I know you know that aspect of it. But project kid from Monroe, Louisiana, Rose City, East Side. And what I'll definitely tell you about my journey is definitely, I would think, is atypical, but it's too much typical when you talk about Black men from our generation. And when I say our generation, born in the 70s and 80s, and really wroth by the fact that we were basically the majority of the Black men I know raised in single family households. Played football at Carroll High School in Monroe. The typical conversation of, hey, we expect you to be an NFL player. Regardless of the fact that I had good grades and went to school and did the things I should do and some of the things I shouldn't do, the emphasis was more on the football than it was on the grades. So I struggled a little bit after high school, after the death of my mother. My mother died during my junior high years when I was I was 12 years old. My sister on my mother's side passed away my junior year, and my girlfriend, well, my first love, was raped, stabbed, and killed my senior year. So just to kind of just preface a bit of my background, because people often see where you are and don't really know your journey. So that earned a scholarship, full ride to Southern University. Loved Southern University. I loved it a little too much, partied. I wound up going to a PWI, met my wife, pregnant with my son, made sure she graduated, joined the military as a truck driver, thought I wanted to be like my dad. 18 months in, nope, need to find something else that's going to give me a life-sustaining wage after the military. So became a respiratory therapist, deployed to Iraq. My daughter cried me out of the military every time I called home, boo-hooing. But after coming back from the military, I knew I had to do, coming back from Iraq, coming from a war-torn country, I realized I really needed to up my game. I need to live up to my potential. And that's when I went back to school, earned my bachelor's, earned my master's from the University of Texas at Arlington. And I earned my doctorate at the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor, a private Christian college in Belton, Texas. But all of that was me, of course, coming out of the military, became a school teacher, first Black teacher of the year at the school that I taught at. I really didn't think that was a thing in the 21st century, but it still is. And taught there for 4 years. The year I won Teacher of the Year, I had a white administrator piss me off, tell me, hey, you weren't doing this, you weren't doing that. Looked at him and said, hey, I'll have your job the next year, and I did. So I continued that path. I became a assistant principal at LBJ, Early College High School in Austin. From there, went to work for the state of Texas. And now I work for a national education nonprofit that represents 50 states and 5 U.S. territories. So I go around, to my extent, preaching a passion, preaching the gospel about career and technical education. Now, again, I'm not representing anyone, but I can't leave this out. I'm a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So I've had a lot of positive influences that I had to go out, seek, and find to create this time and space for me and my family. But proud of the work, proud of overcoming those challenges, but really don't want to forget about where I come from. And that's where I'd like to lead it back to. And the topic that we've definitely put out is women's rights are human rights. Being a product of that single Black mother, seeing the struggles that she went through, how she was limited in her lifetime. Don't even know if she graduated high school. She was a part-time janitor raising 7 kids. And I think that for me, that was the emphasis or the catalyst for me wanting to be here to talk about this topic and to really just share from, again, being that Black male raised by a single Black mother, being a husband and a girl dad, very happy about being a girl dad, soon to be grandfather. Long as she did it while she's paying her own bills, I can't complain. But she was raised that way. She was raised to be independent and realize that, sky is the limit. So as we think about women's rights and the young women that are in our lives, how do we push them? How do we provide that platform for them to be successful? And really for me, especially in this time, in this current political environment, how do we support all of the marginalized populations to make sure they have what they need to be successful? And I'll stop there.
Okay. DeLoss, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right, man, thank you for that. So I wanted to get into, when you say women's rights are human rights, can you go into a little bit of what you mean by that to give us a foundation to start on?
Absolutely. So the one thing that I think about when it comes to that specific topic is the process that we've gone through in America for women to have the opportunity to just be a human being. I won't even talk about being equal to a man or having the same rights as a man, but just being a human being, autonomy over their own body, the ability to own land, to own property, the ability to vote, the ability to even have say over their health care, and to be protected from these draconian laws that have been in place for centuries that have subjugated them to second-class citizenship. So how can, for me, especially the generation of Black men that were raised by single Black mom, not see that we need to be that voice, that mouthpiece to ensure that they at least have the same opportunity? And I won't use equal opportunity because, again, there are differences between men and women. There are some aspects of where they need to be protected. There are aspects when they need to be uplifted. So how do we debunk or just in my opinion, destroy these societal opinions and societal norms that have really held our women back and held them as second-class citizens? So for me, it has to be, when I say human rights, it has to be the fact that they have the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, just as equal to as any man that I know. And again, being a girl dad, wanting my daughter to have all of the opportunities that are available in this great nation, that has to be a continual fight as we look at the fact that Women in this country still don't make what men make doing the same job with the same education, the same background. Studies have shown that if you simply take a man's name and a woman's name, and I know they've been done on race, but they've been done for women also. You take a man's name and a woman's name, same background, same educational attainment, and they still get offered less. They still get paid less. They still don't get promoted as quickly as men do. So for me, it has to be, and even with all of the Lilly Ledbetter Act that talked about equal pay, the number of acts and initiatives that have taken place, but the true place this has to change, the perception has to be within societal norms, that they see them as being worthy of, and that's a tough thing for me to say, being worthy of being considered a human being before you forget about or think about the aspects of them being a woman. And of course, the fact that we wouldn't have a human race without women, right? They carry and bear our children. They raise our children more so in consort now than in previous time. And when I say in consort, doing it side by side with their men. But we have to, as men, we have to ensure that with our privilege, even as a Black man, they're double minorities, especially like Black women, right? You're a woman and you're Black, especially for Black men, as Black women have held us down for decades now. We need to be the voice pushing for those equal rights and those equal opportunities.
Loss, you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. Earlier, you talked about women feeling worthy, right?
Well, the societal aspect, and not necessarily me, but the societal aspect of them being worthy of being treated equally.
That's the whole point I wanted to ask. Do women feel like they're worthy?
Well, being raised around strong women, educated women, absolutely. And I'll tell you, there's no way you're going to tell a Black woman that she's not worthy. And I love that. I love that about our Black women. I love, now I won't speak in generalities because I'm speaking from my experience and my background. But yeah, you do have quite a few that don't, that it may have come from troubled situations, may have not had that strong influence in their lives. And that happens. But for the most part, giving the same treatment, the same, not being set apart within our society, absolutely. Number of women definitely think they're worthy. Now, is that the majority? I'd have to look at data to really say that. I haven't looked at an anthropological study to really review that. But yes, I know the women, I've been around the women I know. I've worked in healthcare and education, which are dominated by women. And absolutely, they feel they're worthy. Okay, great. That's a follow-up question. Do they feel like they're worthy externally as well? I know sometimes we can feel worthy, but from the outside looking in, do they see themselves or the world see themselves as worthy? Well, think about what we promote. So we'd rather promote women that are scantily and I don't have an issue with that because that's part of women's rights too. Dress and be as you are, because we don't criticize men for the same thing, but we love to put them in a category. We love to, and in a lot of instances, reduce them to just a sexual object and not necessarily a human being. And that's another aspect of this. But from the standpoint of, you may not, and oftentimes they see that as their only value. But I think, again, that's up to men to really show them that you have more value to me than just being a sexual object. Now, earlier you spoke to women's rights or human rights, and we also spoke to worthiness. Oftentimes, I don't think our sisters realize how important they are in society. And sometimes we get pigeonholed into thinking that they're just here for reproduction and entertainment and stuff like that. Could you speak to some of the other roles that women are valuable other than those things? Well, the one that I really would like to highlight, when you look at, again, college attainment, right? The education, the women that have been leaders in those fields and in those spaces, most of your teachers were women, right? That nurtured you, brought you to an academic understanding of the world. When you talk about your healthcare providers, the nurses, and of course being relegated just to that, and I don't, but there's also for being a physician or the individuals that are, it's just a tough job to hold down a household, right? Running the finances, running the activities of not only their children but their husbands if they choose to do so, but being expected to be again career woman, superwoman, career cook my meal, take care of my kids, and help me bring home the bacon. But there's also the aspect of the political activism of our women. Let's look at Stacey Abrams, the work that she did in the state of Georgia, how they've led many of those political efforts when, quite frankly, and I will say this for my Black men, that we've been on the sidelines. When you look at the number of women that have been a part of political movements, especially of recent times, that they are at the forefront when you see very few, and I'm speaking only for Black men participating in that. So, and again, I don't want to speak for all women. I do want to definitely carve out and talk about Black women especially.
Thank you. What I've also noticed too is that women's health is one of those questions that people really don't talk about that much. And the reason why I talk about that is because I'm starting to see more women do more labor intensive jobs. Like UPS, mailman, you know what I'm saying, that type of thing. Could you speak to women's health and how important that is for them to make sure that their health is where it needs to be when it comes to taking on roles and jobs like that?
Well, so that's where it becomes a human conversation. There are considerations based on individuals, not because they're women, because I've been with women in combat during my time in Iraq. That they can do those type of jobs. And yes, there are special considerations when you talk about reproductive, when you talk about the fact that they have additional health concerns related to being a woman, absolutely. But can they do the job, do it as well as a man? In many instances, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So when you go ahead, you got some more, Loss?
No, I'm good.
All right, so I got some Mr. Bennett in the back. Mr. Bennett, you ready? Let me know. Yeah, there he is. Mr. Bennett, is going to join us now as well. All right, Mr. Bennett, welcome to the show tonight, my brother. How are you?
Thank you very much. Doing very well. Nice to meet you, Doctor.
Nice to meet you.
All right, now, so Mr. Bennett, you've been in the back listening. So did you have any questions for some of the things he said so far?
Well, I just find the conversation and it's just interesting in the fact that in different spaces there have been a lot of conversations taking place on the relationship front, the distance that's being formed again against between Black men and Black women as women have seen advancement. There has been, I don't know if you want to call it backlash or if you want to call it just there's like a repositioning that has to take place, the relationship between Black men and women. And I'm always thinking about things from a communal standpoint. How do we as Black men and women, as a Black community, how do we go forward given the opportunities that are available? I have 3 daughters. My youngest is 21. She's about to graduate college. I got one going to medical school and one she's got a career in supply chain. So I'm all for women's empowerment, but I don't want that necessarily to happen at the expense of the community, family. How do Black women, men and women can kind of grow together and form a type of relationship? Does the relationship between Black men and women have to change in such a way for the times that we're in? Because I tell guys all the time, women are not going back in the kitchen. You know what I mean? So we have to form a new dynamic, a new relationship. How do you, from your experience and for what your advocacy, how can we get there? What are some solutions you may have on what Black men and women need to do in order to come together? Because I see a lot of more friction than I do people actually trying to be productive and say, hey, this is what we need to be doing. Well,
again, those societal norms, right? When you think about, and as a we're in a different century, but we're still holding true to many of those societal norms. For instance, because you mentioned, and I do want you to give me a bit more context when you talk about the fact that that women, the dynamic between men and women, and the fact that, right, you don't want it to come at the expense of the family. I would like to, before I respond, like to hear a bit more of why that was mentioned at the expense of the family.
Well, in terms of marriage rates, in terms of families, I mean, a lot of us, I come from single parent background as well. I would like to see us grow together. You know, I'm somewhat traditional in the sense that I still believe in marriage. I believe in nuclear families. I believe in a bit, but again, growing it together. But I've seen a lot of argument, a lot of, you know, women saying we're being discriminated against, men coming back saying, no, we're the ones being discriminated against. The women have all the power in the courts and child support and so there's just this back and forth that, especially, and I came into this YouTube space maybe at the beginning of the pandemic, and I didn't even know, because I've been married, I'm in my 28th year of marriage, so I didn't know the level of hostility that was out there between black men and women. I was like, wow, this is, you know, so I've seen a lot of shouting, a lot of argument, a lot of debate, but I haven't seen necessarily a path forward. So again, given the dynamic, given more women are getting educated, giving more women's empowerment, which again, I'm an advocate for, I got a personal interest. But I would like to see, with that growth, I would like to see men and women coming together and forming family units, and the families that are going to be coming in the future, that they have the best chances to succeed. So it just seems like that, you know, with a lot of the tensions that have been going on, how can we chart a way forward as we see more women becoming empowered, but we don't have to split as a people over these battle of the sexes arguments that have just been propagated over the last few years?
Well, that's destroying these perceptions. That's destroying these archaic societal norms that we're still trying to adhere to, that really don't fit the modern family. And I think that's step one. And I don't think it falls slowly in the laps of women. That's also men also, as we think about gender roles, right, within a specific family. It's not necessarily about, because we hear this all, what a man is supposed to do, what a woman's supposed to do. Well, that dynamic has to change, and it has to be destroyed, to be quite honest. For me, it has to be what works for you and your family, and changing the perceptions and the expectations that come along with some of those, again, those archaic beliefs and societal norms that have kept us pigeonholed into how this marriage, or this dynamic of getting married and staying married, is really perpetuated throughout society. For example, when you think about the marriage itself, right? They love to say, well, the marriage is for the woman. The man doesn't really care about the wedding itself. Or the reasons for getting married, right? Is either love or finance. And I won't go too deep into those, but what I'll simply say is, if we want to see that change, it has to be about the relationship and the background of the individuals that are deciding to come together. And a lot of times when we think about those societal norms, that woman, that's that career woman, they're still being expected and pigeonholed, again, by our archaic thoughts that they should be, okay, you still need to come home and cook and take care of the children, when it should be a shared responsibility. And in the 21st century, a marriage is a shared responsibility. You share roles, you share the burden of the family finances, the burden of running a family home, the burden of ensuring that the children are nurtured, loved, and supported. So until, again, that dynamic changes and that expectation changes, we'll still have these conflicts, because oftentimes you hear, well, he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do as a man, or she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do as a woman, when it should be, we haven't figured out how we're going to coexist in this space together and work together to build a legacy, which is our family. And I think if you change that dynamic, there's an opportunity to really rebuild the American family, not the American Black family, not in the image of what it was, but of what it can be.
Gotcha. So you're thinking, so the model has to change. We need to force now, and I guess that's what I'm assuming too, because I'm agreeing with you to a large extent that we need a new dynamic. Because like I said, we're not going backwards, but what is that new model going to look like? So basically, are you saying there's this has to be on an individual's basis or for the couple involved to determine what works best for them, rather than an overarching sort of cultural view through which we look at relationships? It has to be based on the individuals involved.
Absolutely. We still adhere to many of those cultural norms, even what you see in movies, commercials, even on social media, the reels, the TikToks, they still adhere to those norms. The majority of what you see still adhere to those norms. And we denigrate those that are looking for new models, and then we celebrate those that are still adhering to, again, those archaic perceptions of what a male-female relationship looks like, especially within the Black community.
All right, we'll welcome Coach Ferg to the show tonight. What's going on, Coach? How you doing tonight, brother?
How y'all doing, man? Can y'all hear me?
Good to hear you. Good to see you.
Y'all looking attentive in this session right here, man.
They invited a square. That's what happened when you invite a square.
Brother Johnson, I'm just I like to look at the generation. You seem like you're a younger Gen Xer.
I wish I were, and I appreciate that. The check is in the mail, but I actually turned 50 in 2020.
Oh yeah, you're a Gen X.
Oh, you with us? You're the Gen X.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear it in the way you speak about the issue at hand. You know what I'm saying? You got to that age of wisdom, as I'd say. You know.
Okay, I appreciate.
The question is, just based off my lifetime, Brother Bennett, and yourself, do you ever see a time where women, specifically women of color, didn't have a choice in what they could do?
Absolutely. You look through, and we were talking about the laws that have had to be enacted, the Lilly Ledbetter Act, women's suffrage. And then a lot of times, of course, it didn't even apply to our Black women. It applied to white women in this area, where even when you talk about the individuals that believe in, right, the feminist movement, that always didn't include us or our women. So they're still in this they're still pigeonholed, right, to being these sexual objects, or the attitude, or you need to cook and clean, and all is never the more celebrated isn't their accomplishment, is always the perception of what we think they should be.
Okay, so would you, just based on that, would you think that probably the Gen X women had the most opportunity afforded to them to be self-sufficient and independent over the course of your lifetime?
Absolutely not. I think it's been more about the millennials, right? What they will and won't accept. This is a new generation. They have more information in their hand. They're exposed to more than we ever were.
But what I'm saying is they have the information, but as far as the individuals who actually gone out, put in the work young, went to college, went to the military, got married young, that was more of a Gen Xer thing. Today, like you said, with the younger generation, what I've seen and working with the young folks, they have available more options to be sort of independent and work against the family unit. And, and in the fact that they've grown up in it so long, the last 35, 40 years, is that now when they become adults, when we reach age 40, we look to be a little bit more independent and break away from what we've experienced the most. And a lot of us have experienced some trauma within the family unit. It's not even me meeting a woman or a woman meeting me. It's just that when I come out of my family, a lot of times I'm already broken. And the thing that I've always tried to, I understand the situations and the brokenness. I understand that. But and I may be jumping the gun, but just based off, if you had a snap your fingers moment to fix it, because it would have to be one on both sides. I look at both sides, the men and the women.
Absolutely.
What would be one man immediate and one woman immediate thing that they could snap, and here they fixed it. We broke on the man's side one thing, and we broke on the women's side. What would be one of each?
Well, I think it's one for both, and what I've been is those perceptions. Stop going into a relationship with someone with preconceived notions. Love that person for who they are. That's for men and women, and then celebrate each other's strengths, and of course, help each other with their weaknesses. Period. I hate to sound so simplified, and it's not, because in pulling back the layers of each of those individuals as they come together and get to know each other, it has to be that willingness to say that I accept you for who you are. And then, of course, how are we going to build together? But again, the one thing that really destroys that is these societal norms, these perceptions of who they should be.
So that really is out of our control as a people of color then, because these societal norms are not designed by us, written by us. They're just sort of put in place. And men, we've had to sort of just adjust by default, whether you have an instruction book, because a lot of us can say we grew up without a father, mother. However, man was just expected to default, and women can get an excuse based off of behavior over time. So how can we now today, because to me, I just give my anecdotal understanding of how it needs to work. Unless we can find a way to stand together on issues that affect us both on both sides, fighting for one side, because one side has already over time have gotten those available rights, whether it was directed towards them or not, they've been able to sort of benefit from it. And men have been able to have had to just sort of default into it and figure it out. So what could be something that both parties could stand together on to change this going forward? Because it has to be one thing that we can, men and women, stand on to say, okay, we tired of this society. We need it fixed right now.
Treat each other as human beings. That's simple.
Okay, I'm just looking for some, broke down to a minute, because everybody don't know, because me treating you like a human being is just mistreating you. See, some people don't have that understanding. So what could be a solution that you can say, this is the remedy. We're going to stand together and fix this based on society?
Well, I wish there were some type of just magic solution or concept. And I don't know if you're looking for a specific action or a specific concept that would be that one thing, but it's what I'm saying is simple, but it's still complex, because it's still, again, as you talk about, right, breaking down these societal norms, breaking down these systems, not perpetuating, because we do a lot of that too. We still perpetuate a lot of these norms ourselves as a society, as colored people. So I can't say that there's one specific thing, but it begins with conversations like these. And it begins also with re-educating ourselves about what these relationships look like. I took a course in college. It was marriage and family, right? And I was sitting there reading the book. It was published in 2004, but the writing and the concepts and the theories were really harking back to the 1950s. I said, wow. If this is what we are writing and publishing and teaching about marriage and family. And so there's so many variables and elements that feed into this. Again, I talked about what we see, what we hear, but it's also what we do. And again, having these conversations, breaking down these concepts and these theories, and rebuilding based upon, again, what works for us.
Now, somebody in the audience was asking a question. He wanted to, the Scorched Earth 824 said, are you a believer?
So, yes, raised Christian, raised Southern Baptist, did way more Bible school than I wanted to, and spent way more time in the church than I really, than I really thought was necessary. Mama had us in there 6 days out of 7 days of a week. So definitely a believer. However, what I also believe too is that times change. Some of the things that were done and were commonplace in biblical times, and again, it was still a book written and centuries ago that still adhered to at that time those societal norms. So I would consider myself that I don't take the Bible literally. I don't, because there are some aspects and terms and concepts in the Bible that wouldn't apply to how we live our life in this 21st century.
You got something?
Yes, I do. Quick question for you. Earlier we talked about family dynamics and the studies that have been done on family dynamics. And I think a lot of times our community like to focus on the single mother, you know what I mean, that type of thing. And sometimes it rubs up against our insecurities, especially if it applies to us. So my question to you is it beneficial to have a man in the home or husband in the home?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if that is the case, then why isn't that an accurate representation of what we're seeing today?
And I will tell you, I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but and the one thing that I've seen, especially from the men I associated with, the men I've been around, that they are in their children's lives. They do believe in family values. They do believe in being in the home. However, as we talked about the trauma of specific situations, when we talk about the percentage of Black families that are in poverty, that come from broken homes, those are cycles that aren't repaired within those generations. I'm a product of the broken cycle, and I decided to not be a part of that, right? Be an opposite or a model for a different family dynamic. But those things for me aren't simply just washed away and wiped away. It comes with education. It comes with having resources. You can't. It's hard to change your life without money. Let me just say that simply. That's hard to do without resources, without opportunities. So for me, when you talk about that specific aspect of it, that yes, it's important. Yes, we have to preach it and teach it, but you don't break it in one generation. You just don't.
Okay, that's leading to my next comment. I hear a lot of conversations about people talking about generational wealth, you know, and to me it seems like there's this competition between Black men and Black women about the money. I like to take a look in a page out of what works for other communities from time to time to see what they're doing. And what I wanted to know to you is what I've noticed that generational wealth is created over generations, right?
That's correct.
So my thing is this: if generational wealth is created by generations, then how can we actually get our people started with those generational? Like you said, you starting from scratch with you. How can we as a people correct that and actually move forward? Because as it stands right now, it seems as if we're behind according to the numbers.
Oh, the numbers. Wow. Yeah, I won't get into numbers. I won't bore you. But the one thing I will simply say is that true believer in the Booker T. Washington theory and concepts, definitely now the W.E.B. Du Bois, the talent intent. But we're skipping steps. We want to go from being impoverished to being wealthy and then not knowing what to do with that wealth. We want to skip building the foundation and this goes back to something I'm passionate about. That's career and technical education. The one thing that's become blasphemous in society is what's wrong with being a middle class family, right? There's always this desire to go from poor to rich, but what's wrong with being middle class and taking care of your family, having a day-to-day job to where you're providing for the needs, not the wants of your family. And we're skipping that step. Now, as far as the competition between men and women, and I will tell you, I know there are thoughts and concepts out there that because of the advantages or the system being rigged for women, that they're able to attain more, especially for Black men versus Black women. But a lot of that comes to, again, the expectations. I talked about it earlier, and I talked about me specifically. When I was younger, they didn't care about the intelligence. They cared that he could play football, right? What's thrust upon us, right? What are those expectations and those perceptions? So as we think about it, right, as you look at the shift in society to technology, I work from home, remote from home. It's not necessarily the sweat and brow jobs that are bringing in the income. It's that intellectual sit down knowledge sharing, knowledge aggregating, knowledge dissemination that's really earning those higher pays and that critical thinking, those problem solving skills. Those aren't things that are really pushed and valued in Black men. So I do want to say that. And they often aren't as valued among Black males. It's the aggression, it's the flash, and I don't want to just blame us specifically, but I also want to make sure that we don't demonize the women that have taken the time to go and educate themselves and do the things that they need to do to be successful. However, what I don't want to say also is that power dynamic goes with whoever is that breadwinner. And that's another concept in theory that really has to be broken. But when you talk about this barrier that's created between Black men and Black women when it comes to finances, a lot of that, again, is perception. But it's also, and I'm just going to call this out, that we have leaned into some of those societal norms or expectations of what a Black man should do and what he should be doing to make money and be successful. And we really haven't thrust upon our young Black men to a larger degree, for me, that one, being educated, or what's wrong with being that plumber that owns your own company, that electrician that owns your own company, that carpenter, participating in construction, being a site manager, a construction manager. We've really denigrated those type of opportunities in lieu of some of, again, the perpetuated norms of what they think a Black man should be doing. And a lot of us fail at attaining those because a small percentage goes to the NFL, small percentage goes to the NBA, small percentage becomes a rap star, right? Those are unattainable just by the nature of what those things are. And we don't value, right, the middle class. And I don't want to just blame Black men for that, because, again, there are systems in place that keep us from attaining those things. But we, amongst ourselves, we've got to value those things a lot more. And that financial divide, for me, is broken when, again, human rights, when you recognize that there's an equal opportunity among both to be successful.
Earlier, you spoke to the family as the foundation, right?
Absolutely.
And have you ever built a home from scratch before, from the ground up?
Not with my hands.
Not with your hands, but you've seen it. You've seen it built, right?
I saw this one being built, but no.
Okay, good. When they were pouring the foundation, of course, they probably either have to do a slab or a footing or something like that. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
All right. And on one side, normally when you build a house, you have a solid foundation all the way around. Is that correct?
Okay.
Okay, great. So when you build it, your house doesn't shift, right? So what I'm having to hear from conversations is that it seems as if we're building one house on stable ground and the other house on sand. And it's coming to the detriment of the whole entire thing. On average, we hear about it's actually two conversations that's going on. On average, they say that the average Black student, male student, reads on the 4th grade level. Okay. Then, of course, you have conversations with women saying, I can't find somebody who's as educated as I am to build the house that they need to build. How can we, in theory, build one side and neglect the other? And then all of a sudden, we have this divide where one side doesn't feel value and the other one just says, you're not good enough. How do we balance that out? How do we take care of the men and the women and put them together so they both feel valued in that, and create homes and generational wealth for our families so it's on stable footing instead of having one side on concrete and the other side on sand.
So are you positing that because we haven't had to protect and provide rights for women, that it has taken away from opportunities for men?
Well, here's the thing. I'm saying that there is a narrative out there that has shown favoritism toward women in certain situations because they're women and because they're Black at the expense of the men. And from the conversations that we have from the women, they're telling us that they can't find somebody who's as equal or a level to them in certain spaces. And in most cases, it leaves them feeling like, hey, I'm single. And then they have to settle for being single and saying, hey, I'm just going to be independent. When in essence, they always want a man. And you can always tell by the conversations they have in different spaces where they say, hey, I want a man, but I can't find somebody that's on my particular level. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure that they know some guy who's a plumber, like we talked to earlier, who's an electrician, but their appetite is not for the plumber or the electrician. It's not like these guys don't exist. It's just that they don't exist in their eyes because of what they have accomplished. So how do we take those two things and put them together and build a solid family so we can build generational wealth like we spoke to earlier? So that way money is not a conversation anymore.
And I like the way you phrased that. I like the way the retort. I love the retort of that. And here's what I'll simply say. And I love that you framed it that way. Because again, those perceptions, and I go back to those of what's a good man, right? Baller versus a stable family man. And I have to admit that again, I know we're talking about women's rights and human rights, but that I don't take away that accountability of that aspect either. That there is an opportunity to your point where you can find that middle class man and build something together, because you may have knowledge of specific aspects and ways to really enrich or improve those financial opportunities. But that again goes back to our conversation about these perceptions and how that drives that she has this booming and prospering career, that she needs to find someone at that same level when that person may not exist. But there's never this conversation of how we build together. And again, and that comes from those societal norms and those perceptions of, hey, well, I need someone on my level. I need someone that's equal to me instead of someone that completes me or someone I can build with. Just because you're on top today doesn't mean you're on top tomorrow. And as double efforts is better and definitely provides more for a family than a single effort, period. That's been proven from the studies done on two-parent household, two-income household, two people working together, and the success of the children that come from those households. The research has been done 1,000 times over and been proven, regardless of race, regardless of economic background. So to answer your question specifically and to stop adding all of these additional comments to it, it has to be, again, how you enter and you perceive each other. And also, what are you willing to do to build each other? Because just because you have a fantastic career doesn't make you a fantastic person, right? You're still empty and you need those specific things. And it shouldn't be about financial attainment at that point. It should be, how can I enhance him, he enhance me, and we build together from whatever you start from. I'll use myself as an example, being a bit candid and personal here. When I met my wife, she was in college. I wasn't in college. I was sleeping on the couch. She had support and resources. I did not. She shared those resources and it changed my life. It changed my life. Now you can't take away the individual determination and effort, but without that love and support, and those were the two most important things. Without that love and support, I wouldn't be who I am today. And that was simple, that love and support. Because at that point when I met her, she had more than I did. But that love and support given to me made me feel as though I could accomplish anything, that there were no limits and no bounds. And that has to be the emphasis of what's lacking in each other so we can build together.
Quick question for you. How can we bottle what happened in your situation and spread that around? Because there seems to be a narrative that women aren't willing to do what your wife did for you. Does that make sense?
And it does, but I've seen too many examples of it. Now, of course, that also means don't dehumanize him. That also means don't apply these societal norms and these masculine expectations, or in colloquial terms, TLC, no more scrubs, right? Remember the song. You the passenger guy and your best friend's ride trying to holler at me. Again, popular culture perpetuating that this man is less than because he, at this point in his life, he may not have attained a certain level of success and stature. So I've seen it. I think it does happen, but where for me it becomes an issue is that oftentimes that dominant role is assumed at times of, okay, well, my friends think or society thinks, well, you're with a bum, but you're not willing to stand up and say, hey, we're building together. He may be here now, but he'll be here another day. And I've seen women attempt that and they want that immediate change or that immediate from coal to a diamond, but that takes time. And the difficult part about it is, and from an accountability measure, that you can't place on him what society has already placed on him if you're going to be his safe space, his foundation, his rock, that you have to recognize that, again, yes, he's had things against him, but if he's willing to show you the work, the effort, and the potential, being willing to work with him. Now, until that changes, until we can attack and destroy these perceptions of what he should be at that point in his life, that's going to be tough to do. But I've known women in my family, women around me that have done those things. But also I've also seen the denigration or the dehumanization of that specific man because he's not, even in some of the current popular rap songs, what Brokey, I've heard that before, right? Those specific songs by artists. So it's still being perpetuated. And the perpetuation, again, to me, is the issue.
Let me ask you a question. You said it's being perpetuated, right?
Absolutely.
Who is it being perpetuated by?
So that's always a tough one to answer because it is, because when we own our own studios, when we the days of being just locked in to specific. Now, don't get me wrong. There are systems in place. I work in education. I don't disagree. There are systems in place. But when we participate in that perpetuation is the problem. For instance, there's no one telling you what your content should be today. There is no running show there's not some producer or director telling you, hey, this is boring. You brought this square on. He's too positive. He needs to change the conversation, because that's not really how the world is. Well, you have to change that perception. So when we own our own studios, own our own YouTube channels, or we control the content, but what gets most of the clickbait is still the perpetuating those stereotypes, those perceptions. That's what people want. They want to see the drama. They want to see. No one wants to sit and listen to the boring guy talking about changing it and being that positive influence. And that's what we have to be. We have to really celebrate those things. And just to talk about the family in general, we don't even celebrate the family like we used to. We really don't. Young, single, and mingling, right? That's, the dating sites. There's no site that's saying, hey, come on here and share that you're a happy married couple, that doesn't exist. That doesn't sell. That doesn't make money.
Follow-up question: how do we change the appetite of our people to want more of what we're putting out versus more than what the world's putting out with the brokey and all this other stuff? How do we change our people's diet when it comes to building relationships the correct way and building and valuing family and family members? How do we change that appetite?
Now, I won't be a popular response, but I still lessons of the Bible. I have to admit that's that Christian upbringing, or whatever faith you follow. They still within the seven major religions of the world, they still talk about the family as the cornerstone of not only the economy, politics, societal expectations. Right, that's still the cornerstone of that. But that's $1 billion question. It really is. And I wish I could say I had the answer. As my wife is probably shocked that I admitted that I don't know the answer to something. But that's the $1 billion question. I'll be honest with you. I really don't know. I don't. As a person that volunteers in the community, that had a fledgling political career and really try to promote and talk about those things, it's the salation that sells. It's the salation that draws attention. And where salation has failed us consistently, we continue to go back to it. And I really don't know how to change that other than to be a positive influence, because you may not reach everyone, but it'll be it won't happen overnight. We just can't give up is the one thing I will say. You have to still have these type of platforms, these type of conversations, and continue to fight, because that's the only way you're going to change it, because you can't adopt those things because they don't work for our families. You have to continue these positive conversations.
Right. Here's my thing. I'm the type of person who likes to do research, and I am from the church as well. And I'm glad sometimes God will move me to see things in its proper time, in its proper context. And I'll give you an example. Just like earlier, you said that you're a self-made man, right? And
I would never ever use that.
No, you're first of your generation. You're the first of your generation. Okay. I found an example of a guy who's doing it the same way as you. And I wanted to show you guys the power of one, the power of first. There's a guy that's in New York City who has a jewelry store, Tracks NYC. And from time to time, he'll go around and he'll do business. He started in New York, his own jewelry store, from, in the streets or whatever, to now it's a booming multi-billion-dollar business. And from time to time, he'll go from different places to find out how other people did things. Well, earlier this week, when I was doing some research for this show, I found a video that he's talking about gold chains. And of course, I'm like, yeah, I don't go gold chains. But what stuck out to me was the family component of the business and how they created generational wealth. And he talked about how his family was 4 generations in of making this other guy's family that's in Italy is 4 generations in of making gold chains. And I saw where the great grandfather built his business to what it is now. And he incorporated the generations over time to create that type of wealth. And then what really stuck out to me was that he had another guy who works for him personally who fixes Rolex watches. And this guy said he comes from at least 4 or 5 generations of watchmakers. I found that interesting. I said, Lord, what are you trying to tell me? He was saying that you need to give your people a visual of what that looks like. Because sometimes we as a people, we get complacent and wallow in our sorrow instead of glory in our greatness. So if you guys don't mind, I would love to show you a little bit of this so he can give you an example of what that looks like and to give us an idea to shift our perception so we can actually see what's possible instead of seeing what we've been told. You know what I mean? So give me an opportunity. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you exactly what that is. Give me just a moment. And I'm going to prepare the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and share.
grandfather got it going and invented this, and then the father took it and whatever it is, and now it's in the father's just chilling. He's in his 50s or 60s, riding motorcycles, doing whatever, and the kids are getting ready to take over the factory. So this is why we came to Italy. This is a gold chain factory, 4 generations in the business. Take care of their workers, their company, their land, their property, their everything. I mean, they have fountains. They got a lawnmower over there, a little robot mowing the grass. When I got to the factory, I couldn't believe how they landscaped the shit. It's a factory. You don't need a fountain outside, but they did it anyway. It's interesting. You have to understand business to understand what they did. They put the pride into it. So it's in a nice place. It's got the security, everything locked down. Vast amounts of machines printing away and producing gold chains every single day. All right. So we're going to take you inside and we're going to show you what's going on, and we're going to meet the family.
What's wrong? What's happening?
Yeah, I like to find out about me as well, what I do.
Oh, but we saw each other in a JCK.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, we were working together. So then I started following you on Instagram.
Right.
So it was really like that.
Wow. Okay. All right, cool.
So we start from here, maybe, so it's easier to see.
Whoa.
Here in the production area is hotter than the
It's
office
okay.
area.
It's okay. It's okay.
Wow. Wow. You should also have some safety like this in your shop.
So here
Nice to
you
meet you.
start seeing a bit the production area. So we have 42,000.
Different links?
Yeah, I know it's a lot.
That's too many, actually. It's impossible to go
Yeah,
over them all.
so we of course focus on the ones that we consider, best sellers. So we do a quick tour here.
Yes.
And Mauro Boivenire, he's the director of our production.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Facciamo
Nice to meet you.
What do? They wake up in the morning, someone orders 20 kilos of this or 10 kilos of that, and they melt down the gold. They put it into the strings of gold, right? So they melt the raw gold, they cast it down to 14K, what do you call it? And then they string it into wire. Wow. Is this gold wire?
Yeah, sure.
The gold goes in and a bar comes out. What this is white gold wire coming out of this machine, and it is in this Italian factory that makes gold chains.
Oh, so many thoughts. I love to hear y'all's. I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, see, that's the reason why I wanted to show you guys exactly what is possible. My question to you is this: can we get our women to give up their independence so we can live like this?
Do they have to for us to live like that? Is my question.
Well, let me ask you this. You can't get to this level without sharing. Everybody in that room was a family member. As a matter of fact, the lady who was in there, she's in charge of the factory.
Yeah. Honestly, I think with this conversation, I think the whole idea of independence, I think is what's been the most damaging to both men and women. And again, it's been a seed that's been growing, and you hear it in these conversations. This is what I was getting back to earlier. I'm not willing to sacrifice independence for family. I think what this video was showing is family is the goal, not independence. And I think all of us have to kind of get out of this mindset to say, okay, if my daughter's being successful in whatever endeavor that they go into. And again, I want them to go wherever their talents take them. But the goal, though, should be driving towards something that's greater than themselves. And I think family is, still at the center of humanity. And so I think that the independence or the degree of the career shouldn't be the end all be all. It should be directed towards something that's greater. that we can start to, when we talk about, yeah, we want generational wealth, but you have to have generations in order to do that. And I was just struck by, again, I've shared this story many different times. I went to a family cookout from a Sierra Leone family, a very traditional family. And that was the first time I've been in a cultural environment like that. And all the girls that were there, were sitting at the table with them and just talking to them about what their future goals were and what their ambitions were. There was a lot of cousins, a lot of family. There was a lot of culture. There was a lot of that they all benefited from. But then I just asked them a question. I just said, well, okay, so when is the average age? Like, when is typically a woman gets married in your culture? Because I didn't know about the culture. And they said, okay, about 27 or so. So, okay, so in, a few years, it seems like there's a lot of people here, a lot of young people here. There'll be a lot of weddings. They all shook their heads like, no, like it's not at front of mind, even though that structure, that environment gave them something. But there seems to be no willingness to want to perpetuate that. And again, I'm not saying barefoot and pray. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But I'm saying both for men and women, the conversation needs about what can men and women, can black men and black women do together. And as long as we're going to be in this sort of independence mindset of putting everything else aside, but the family structure that we all say is the foundation, we all say that's where the best outcomes are. If that's not going to be the goal for us, then I don't see how we can get to the things that we say that we want and we know that works. I think both men and women have to buy into that.
I agree, but I just want to make sure we're not conflating concepts here. So when we talk about independence, and I love that you said, not barefoot and pregnant, so that helped me with that aspect.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask that, are we saying that is it because of women's independence that we can't get to that?
I think it's multifaceted. I think there is a segment of idea
of nod over there.
Excuse me?
I see a head nod.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is that we say at the expense of women's independence. The inverse doesn't work either, at the expense of men's independence.
I agree.
So my whole thing is we weren't independent when we were created. So why should we be independent after the fact?
So let me make sure that, again, I'm not conflating concepts. Independence, as I define it, is the ability to determine one's own future and have control over one's own agency and autonomy. Right? That's my definition of independence. That you have the independent choice to come together and build together. But as I'm hearing it, we're saying that independence in your definition or how it's being used is that you want to be separate from the family. Am I correct?
Well, it seems to be as I've been hearing. Again, I talk to a lot of young women and young men. And like I said, I have Zers. And so, again, the conversation is, yes, they like the idea of autonomy, but it's not directed towards anything outside of autonomy. It's independence for independence sake. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I don't want anybody telling me anything. There's no accountability. There's no sense of collective that our community needs. So again, I look at the independence as a goal, a means to an end, which is the communal and family development. To me, that is the end, not the independence of itself.
So for me, that's a different term for me. That's selfishness, right? That I'm going to be selfish. That I don't believe in communal activities. I don't. And
that's where I'm seeing. And that's, again, I think your definitions are important. I think this idea of independence and selfishness are being merged.
Yes. They're two different things.
And I'm saying that the conversation needs to be changed. That joining has to be dealt with directly, because again, it's going to mean our own detriment if we continue in this. We do have a selfish generation. We do have selfish, entitled generation. And until we get back to this idea of something greater than yourself, then again, we're not going to be able to have the sort of success that we saw in the video. We're not going to be able to have that. So again, I think these, and as you said earlier, what I would agree with, I think the old tropes, I do think we need the way we get there may change based on women's empowerment, based on, certainly our ability of men to think outside of just going to college and picking up other trades and other things that, that are available to us. But the goal, I think, still has to be the same. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, the traditional is there. We have to have all of us have to have a common destination that we're trying to get to, or none of this stuff works.
Amen, bro. I have no retort for that. Amen.
Speaking to the video in just reference to this tradition of family, I used to. How many of us, from our own experiences, or even in our community, know people that maybe had a little business going on, whatever, and they actually implemented their children in it at an early age? Because all that he's talking about is that they passed this down from an early age. Soon as the child is able to walk, they're actually participating in the business. And we say, again, I don't know, it could have started at Gen X. We've allowed these nuances to become part of our children's daily decision making, because people thought young people are lazy. No, it's us teaching them to be lazy, because in a tradition like this, he's talking about his grandfather and his grandfather's grandfather, because they were put in the positions to be in the business early. A lot of us, we allow our kids to just waddle in the wind while we trying to be business people. And based off what I've seen over the last 35 years, listen, I think to what everybody's saying, man, listen, to me, because man by default try to be the best they can be. They try to be the best. They, like you said, you grew up around single women, but I always ask the question with the men in my generation: when was the last time you ever saw your mama, your auntie, your cousin, your sister, they breasts and they booty cheeks when you was a man? Never. You never saw it. So that's no accountability on the man. It's accountability on the women. And to me, it takes it, because men, we hold each other accountable by default, whether we know each other or not. We listen to everybody's story, and if a man's on BS, somebody's going to say, man, that's not right. And we've always had to take that accountability, because despite growing up in a single family, your parents had expectations for you. They spoke those expectations, and they had expectations for themselves. They didn't just denigrate the family name. They didn't do certain things. So as you got older and understand, you wanted to represent well with the family. You know what I'm saying? So now I've seen it where I believe women have always had the freedom to do what they want. We didn't do that because they've been getting more educated. They've been having more freedoms to purchase things, major purchases, all alone by themselves, right? And men just sort of have to always have to mosey along. But now the dynamic is changing, because the women's resources, they're going to be held just as accountable now, because if you have the opportunities to be in some of these labor intensive jobs, their body's not made for it. And a lot of women are going to have to suffer, because most men are always been going to getting the trade skills, joining them, going to the military. They may not go $50,000 in debt, but they can come out making $25,000, $30,000 a year. And if they don't have any children doing that for 10, 15 years of their life, they will have a nice nest egg. It's just that a generation to now, it's like everybody's looking to see what everybody else is doing. You have to focus on yourself for 4 or 5 years as a young man. And believe me, you will be able to be who you want to be at 40, 50 years old. But you can't complain about women. You can't complain about mom and dad not being there. You have to be willing to start it for yourself and move accordingly. You just can't, brothers, we can't afford to complain, not in the strongest years of our life. So listen, we're not trying to hold women back, but I think if women could change their messaging to their sons, to their nephews, and show a little respect to their body, to the world, because we're not saying go wear this. We don't need you to wear all that. We can see. But you got to understand, if you're not willing to change, it's a different day. Brothers are coming, and they're not going nowhere. So, salute.
So let me
30% of what you said, but I won't dominate the conversation.
No, you're fine. The reason why I showed the video is because I wanted you to see where you are right now and what can happen if we implement that first person mover advantage. You see what I'm saying? So I wanted us to give us an opportunity of what's possible, and then we'll be able to build something. It's one thing to go from going to school to get a check for somebody else. It's a completely different ball game when you're the person who's writing the check for other people's families. Black man, go ahead. I know you wanted to go ahead and jump in.
No, I want to bring Arpain in on this real quick. Arpain is in the building tonight, man. Arpain, thank you for being here tonight, brother. You have any questions?
Hello.
Yeah, what's going on? You got any questions for? Have you been listening? And if so, do you have any questions for Dr. Kevin?
Well, hello, Doc. I just popped on, but I heard the conversation about independence. I'm a little under the weather. Been on the road for a while. I believe independence means totally different things between what men think about independence and what women think about independence. And you could just listen to women independence, and this is why the relationships. Men have a different reason for independence, because a man could be married, have a family, and still think differently about what him being an independent man means. For a woman in a relationship, she understands if she's got not a real man, but a man who's on his square, who leads the family, a little bit of her autonomy has to go. It has to go, right? So the modern woman, whatever that really means, if you ever listen to them talk about women of my generation, to a woman almost, because they've been poisoned, think every woman who was married back then had to because they needed a man. They needed a man's resources. If you listen to them talk, they'll tell you that. I tell them that's a lie, because it's just a trope that they heard. They say the only reason why a woman was with a man is because they needed him. And now we don't need y'all no more because we got a job. Well, I said, women always had a job, So I'm thinking independence to them means that they have to give a little bit of their autonomy away. Forget about accountability. That's probably been the same since the beginning of time. But so I look at it differently when women speak, when they use that term independence. They mean if I'm with you, I still want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And if you put your control on me, you're trying to control my chaos. Well, I'm not really with that because I make just like as much money as you do. So I should be able to do what I want or be in control of the relationship. So a lot of them think that way. So that's how I look at the independence. A man, independence doesn't mean the same thing to him if he has a wife. He freely gives away the fact that he can smash a lot of women. If he's a good man, he wouldn't be smashing women. He'll give that away without a second thought. You know what I'm saying? As part of building a family. So, it's not the same. There's no equivalency there. Some things are equivalent by the definition, but the way men see it is different than the way women see it. I believe that. A lot of men don't want to be married today because they're afraid what the women might do to them if they're a chameleon.
Now let me ask you this question, Doc. So as we look at the climate of change, I wanted to point out a contradiction from earlier. Okay. Now I heard you say that we need to get rid of these old ways of doing things and all this other stuff, and then you said the families don't even love each other, or they don't even celebrate each other like they used to.
Right.
Most of those celebrations was from their cake mama cook. And mama being at home and mama celebrating the kids and mama being a part of that whole thing, right? So you can't have one without the other. I believe that, and I remember as a child, birthday came around, I was looking forward to walking through that door and seeing mama with that cake. You know what I'm saying? Or seeing mama with something, right? Because you knew that your mama would be celebrating you. But now it's to the point where I got a job, you do it. It's something different. Because when mama do it, it's something different from when mama do something than when daddy do something. Like daddy could have got me a cake. I'd be like, all right, nigga. But when mama do it, it's different because mama has a different perspective. It's the way mama cook it. It's the way mama present it. It's the way mama, so I don't think you can have one without the other. I'll let you address that first, then I have another one for you.
All right. So I don't think it's a contradiction from this standpoint that my whole premise is that the perception of what a family is has to change, and then celebrate that you are working together, that you're coming together to build something, right? To build a legacy. I love the fact that he showed that video because, again, that's them working together in concert. Regardless of who's at the helm, who's leading, they're coming together. And I think the autonomy is more about the conversation of you're choosing to come together because there's a greater benefit to you being together than you being apart or doing it alone. This misnomer, and I've heard it before, that people say, well, I'm a self-made man. Well, guess what? No one on this planet is a self-made man. Someone poured into you. Someone gave you guidance. Someone gave you advice. And the best place to get that, because we have conversations about lack of social capital, lack of social mobility, those things are constrained by who you come in contact with and what you have resources for. Now, I just want to say wholeheartedly, I disagree with the concept that has to be this specific individual, that the blame for this lays at the feet of women and them gaining human rights. I won't say rights, human rights over the past few decades. And for me, when you say that, yes, does mom do it different than dad? But does it mean that it's less love? Does it mean that if dad does specific things? I was the dad that, regardless of how often I worked or the long hours I worked, I was blessed that when I left the military, I worked in the school. My kids were in the same school with me. So daddy was at everything. They still love mom the way they love mom. And that won't change. And I guarantee you, if she ever won $1 million, she still say, thank you, mama, before she say, thank you, daddy. But I was there for all of those aspects. And I just don't believe that there has to be this sacrifice of the gains that have been attained for women because they were treated as second-class citizens that now aligns with the destruction of the American family or the Black family. Because where there may have been an opportunity by force, it can be an opportunity by choice, because the messaging has to change in that we do more together. We can be bigger and greater together than we ever could apart. And I hate to use this popular example. Beyonce and Jay-Z would have been millionaires on their own. They're billionaires together, right? And we don't even celebrate those aspects, right? That they came together to build something bigger than what they could have ever been apart. And I think those are the things that we really should hold up. Barack wouldn't be where he was without Michelle, right? Those are the examples.
Hold on. Wait. Hold on.
He would not have been. I'm
gonna challenge that, because if you go read, have you read Michelle's book?
I've read Michelle and Barack's book.
Okay. If you read where she said, and I don't know why she would put that out after he's done 8 years, and why would you come out years later and say this? But that she can't stand it. She didn't support him running for president.
Well, you say that, but she was by his side. Just because you do something that may not be your first choice, that's the autonomy. She chose, because she could have divorced him, or stood by his side when he ran for president. She chose to stay. That's the importance of it. Regardless of the arguments or the disagreements that may have led up to that moment, my wife didn't agree with me going to school for my doctorate degree. Oh, that's going to take away time from the family. Well, let's talk about it. Here's what I need to do for us to get to where we need to be. And then we come to a compromise and an agreement. This is what it'll look like. So it's not necessarily, yes, it's okay that you had your concerns, you had your doubts. This may not have been my choice, but that's the difference between selfishness and independently making a choice to come together.
Now, I want to, because we talked about tradition earlier, I wanted to play a clip as well to show you this guy and his wife talking, because I think I'll say this before I play it. I think culturally, I think as a whole, as a majority, I think we're the only culture who is having this fight. Like the majority, I'm gonna say the other cultures are not having it, but what you see, the face of this fight of where women's supposed to be independent, women up here, is coming from our culture. Because I don't see too many white women complaining about their culture, or Hispanic women, Asian women. Right? They're not having these conversations.
It depends on who you're around.
Right? Exactly. That's what I was saying. So the majority, but I'm gonna play this video and let you hear what was said between this man and his wife. Where is it? One second. Just a second. I should have already been in there. But yeah, okay, there it is. There we go. All right, so here we go. Let's see.
You're your man. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't see how that's degrading to women. I don't know when this became a degrade to be a wife, to be the cook. Like, no food tastes better to me than the food you cook for me. I don't care where it comes from. When you make me eggs, it tastes better than any other eggs for some reason, dude. Like when you cook me a steak, not the one we had last night, that was shit, by the way. Okay.
That one didn't come from me.
It was a fucking filet mignon. I hate filet mignon. Okay, we've been married 20 years, and you have to know by now, it's got to be a ribeye or a New York steak. And prefer the ribeye, right? And I'd rather have a good ribeye bought and then you make it in a bunch of butter, because for some reason it just tastes better when you touch it.
Okay.
And when you bring it to me, I'm telling you, there's so much value in women doing that.
Well, that's easy enough to do.
Now I was looking very hard for a sister talking like that. I could not find it, Mr. Bennett. I couldn't find. They out there. I just couldn't find it. Now, what I did find, oh Lord have mercy, watch this, Kevin. What I did find was this right here. Pain, shut up. This right here is what I did find. Our sister's talking about. Let me play it for you. Where is it? Okay, here.
Nowadays, for example, who say, I want a woman like my grandma.
Right.
My grandma who used to keep the house all day, manage the kids.
She cooked every day, neck bones and collard greens and cornbread every day.
From scratch.
Yeah,
from scratch.
day.
Don't bring a box, right?
Yeah,
But here we are in 2024 where that's not realistic, because it takes two of you to work outside of the home. So you might want a woman like your grandma, but you don't want to be a man like your grandpa.
Oh, wait a minute. Right? Don't let me run. Don't let me run, Dr. Spirit. Don't let me take off with my tambourine.
Now, basically what she was saying in a nutshell is, we want the tradition of the man, but we want the tradition of the woman to change.
So that's a very small sample size, right? And of course,
but I want you to address them. Cause go ahead, I'm gonna let you cook.
That's a very small sample size. And I tell you, definitely is not representative that the women that I've met in my professional journey.
Yeah.
Definitely not indicative of the women that I went to my doctoral program with. And I tell you, there are, and I'll say this, and it's something that may surprise you. There are women out there that really would like to, hey, well, let me here, you take, I don't mind being in this role if you can meet all of the needs of our family financially. There are women that want to be that, right? So I can't say that it's a all or nothing or zero sum game. This is still again perpetuating some of those art. I've heard this on from different individuals here. Still perpetuating some of those archaic forms of saying that we should be pigeonholed to specific gender roles, and that there isn't some interchangeability that's available in the 21st century, right? Where you can compromise and come together and make your system and your process work for you. The problem in these concepts and these theories or these perceptions about these relationships is that we think that it should be one way, that it should fit some specific model, when the only thing that matters is coming together as a family unit. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't have to be at the dehumanization or denigration of either. And what I want to make sure of is that there's not some blame laid squarely at the feet of women when there are aspects of the deterioration of the family concept and construct that is also at the fault of the modern man.
Now, I think we should get to the point. I think that we're getting to the point now where it's getting so confusing, and then the men who are coming up in this soft era, it's getting to the point if somebody break in your house, the husband and wife waking up looking at each other trying to see who's going to go to the door. This is what it's coming to. It's coming to. That's what it's coming to. I'm telling you, because now, what if the woman say, "No, I got him. I'm gonna go get him. Get what a strap. I'm going to right." Because now there's no roles anymore, right? Now, and I'm trying to figure out. We asked Anissa, shout out to Anissa. I know she watched. I love you, Anissa. I'm finna get on you, but I love you, baby. I'm gonna say it right now. Anissa says, "I want that man to be traditional," and Lost in Translation asked her a question. Will you go outside and mow the yard? She said, "I'm not mowing a damn thing. That's the man's job." Whoa. Well, if it's the man's job, man, why you can't go mow the yard if you want these traditions to go away? We're equal. You should go outside, get the push more, and mow the yard. And then this weekend, you mow the yard, and I'll go wash the dishes and fold the clothes. And then next weekend, I'll mow the yard, and you washing clothes and folding clothes.
So that's a bit.
I'm just saying.
You're extending it to you're extending the conversation to a conclusion that's not what I'm perpetuating. What I'm saying, you find what works for you. Some individuals want those specific relationships where they have those traditional roles, that's what works for them. What we can't do is say one model is the most successful and it works for everyone, because it does, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I'd like to get in on this too, though.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen. One of the things I agree with the doctor about some things, Dr. Robinson, about some things. If both of you are working, you have to compromise on some other things. If you're having your woman out there for 60 hours a week like you are, the problem I have when I hear Black women speak is that the only reason why a man should be treated like a man in a relationship is he's paying all the bills. I don't agree with that. I mean, back in the day, I'm a baby boomer. Both parents work. Both parents work, but a man was still treated with the leadership qualities of the household. Today, women who've been poisoned by feminism and a whole bunch of other things.
My God, feminism, Jesus
They
Christ.
believe that if I make money like you, then there's no leader in the household.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. That's the problem, because I have a couple of buddies, just like I know you, Dr. Robinson, whose wives make more.
Johnson.
Oh, Johnson. I'm sorry. No, I'm looking at the name. Johnson. I'm probably. Thanks for correcting me. Just like you, I know men who make less than their wives in their relationship, but they maintain leadership of the household. Right. And that's the way it is. You're the leader because you're the man, not because you have more money. Now, you have to have certain qualities to deserve that, right? To lead your household. But it can't just be predicated on you being a breadwinner from the money standpoint, because you're probably always the breadwinner in your household, whether your woman makes more money than you or not. It's how much she wants to submit to your leadership that matters. You know, so that's where we're broken, I think. And then when you get men coming on saying, well, you know, I'm bringing in the bread, you must do this, you must do that. I mean, but if you listen to women speak, they tell you what's on their mind. And it's just almost everything they talk about is predicated on how much money the man makes. Really, almost everything. You know, you want my submission, I'm supposed to be the beauty queen sitting on a couch eating bonbons, and you go bust your ass until you die, and then maybe you can get a plate of food. The funny thing is, I was out with I had a family reunion this weekend, just generations in a household. And so my wife was all the way on the other side. And I was actually expecting her to bring me a plate because I was sitting down somewhere else. And we actually laughed at it because she said, you know, I would. And I thought about it, but I couldn't lose my seat. She said, I didn't want to lose my seat. Well, we laughed because we don't argue about stupid stuff like that. So I got my own food. But we still talked about it. It was kind of funny because she always brings me my food, whether I ask for it or not. And, you know, I don't know even, it's kind of weird because when people, and it's not a big deal to me, to tell you the truth, but that guy who says it tastes better when your wife cooks it and brings it, I think it's funny. Psychologically, it does. You know, it just does. It's kind of weird, but it's a minor thing. But I think women of the day tell you what they're thinking about. And I think we're not really listening. Because it's not what we want to hear. The men have their own problem, but I think they're different. I think a man with most men who squawk and squall. I'm gonna end it here. All the guys I hear on the internet here on the YouTube streets and stuff, they always complain about women, but it's from the standpoint that they can't get a woman to fit into whatever category they want them to fit into.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's their argument. Women are saying, I don't want a man who can't meet whatever my standards are, and it seems like the twains never meet. So,
hey, but you know what's happening though. You know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
We talk about this every other week. Well, last week, 2 weeks ago, what's happening right now? There's a shift. So black men used to be the Keith Sweats. Baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, right? Baby, don't leave me. I'm at the doorstep, tears falling down my face, right? That used to be the men, right? That's what it used to be. Men today, these younger generation of guys, they're not putting up with it at all. If you deny them anything, they gone. Secondly, they're running into the arms of these white women. See, we ain't talking about that. Now, Super Bowl Sunday, I want y'all to listen. Super Bowl Sunday, before the Super Bowl starts, I want y'all to watch Saquon go over there and kiss his white wife that look like she work at Home Depot. And I want y'all to see Patrick Mahomes kiss his white wife. And I want you to go see all them other black players before the game, Worthy and all them guys, go over to them sidelines kissing them white women. And guess what them white women doing? You don't hear from them. You don't hear about them talking about no independence. You don't hear them talking about who gonna cook, who gonna clean up. You don't hear nothing. Matter of fact, if you could I'll bring it down to the minimum wage people. When those Mexican men go to Home Depot parking lot and put up ceiling fans all day and make $200, when they go home, their wife gonna cook, clean, and call them king. The other cultures don't have it, and these black men are swooping these white women up like you would not believe. Now, I'm gonna say this. I know Lost probably in the back. I'm gonna say this. Then I'm gonna let you have it. If there was a professor, because I said this to them, they know there was a professor. I can't think of his name. He's a real famous professor. I cannot think of his name. You know him if I call his name. Wears the hat all the time with the little glasses. Dark skinned guy with the locks. Can't think of his name.
Johnson, Keyshawn Johnson.
I think that may be him. He had a course at his college. He said he saw the disconnect between black men and black women, and he wanted to bring black men and black women together. So he wanted to have a course on learning the nature of a black man. So he put the course out. He blasted it, emails, social media, so on and so forth. He said the day of the class, he went in, he heard a lot of commotion. He said, oh, this class is going to be fun. He walked in. He said he thought he walked into the wrong building. He said not one sister showed up for that class. Not one melanated woman showed up for their class. He said it was full of white women, Hispanic women, and Asian women. Not one. He said not one sister showed up for that class to learn the nature of black men and how to coexist with their men. Not one. So I'm gonna put it back in your hand. Everything I just said, I want you to process it and give me something, Doc, on what because the men are just saying, "Hey, come here, Whitey. Come here, Snow Bunny."
So
talk to me.
Wow.
Keyshawn Johnson. There you go. Thank you, Loss.
So me coming from a military background, I have to admit that I'm used to multicultural relationships. So I will say that. But also, what I will emphasize is that it's dangerous to really put any group in a stereotype and put them all in that box. Again, I know what I've been around. My hometown, 35% impoverished. I know what I've seen. I know what I've seen in different cities. DC, shout out Chocolate City, lived there for 5 years. What I see in this Austin area, what I have seen in Chicago, and I'll just be honest, that hasn't been my experience. So I don't want to say you're wrong, but I'll just say you're dealing from a very small sample size. You just talked about how rare it is to be an NFL player and a small percentage of who those individuals are. Now you're extrapolating that across the entire population of black women. And if you look at the numbers, the percentages, black women mainly marry black men. The numbers are
that's true.
Look at the census data. They mainly marry black men. So with that being said, what we can't do, and again, this is part of what I talked about, perpetuating those perceptions. Because now I have to admit, I hate there's video of me laughing at it, but we're still perpetuating, right, these small sample sizes, these myths, these stereotypes. I love the use of the word trope because that's exactly what I see in some of. Now, you may feel that way, but that doesn't make it true. That may be what you've seen the majority of. That doesn't make it statistically bear out as to what's actually happening in society. So, and I'll just stop there and just simply say, yes, we need to address it because that's why you have these type of conversations. That's why, again, we talked about you have to put out material and resources that break those perceptions and not extrapolate from that small sample size what's really happening in our community.
So let me ask this last question. In 15 years, 20 years, what do you think relationship looks like interracial wise?
So again, race being a social construct, yes, melanin, skin, ethnicity, all those aspects, that's going to change because what we see as the specific populations in our divides and imaginary lines that have been drawn by others and not us won't exist in the same way that they exist now. The communities won't exist in the same way that they exist now.
That's what I'm saying about the traditions, what we talked about earlier. So traditionally, like we just said, traditionally, black men and black women marry each other. In 15 to 20 years, I'm telling you, listen, I went to my son's football game and they were asking for homecoming, girls to go to homecoming. It took me back because I'm a millennial, but I remember hearing grandmama and them talk about if she can't use your comb, she can't come here. Right? And so I remember those things. But when I seen these black boys out there with these signs to my, will you go to prom with me? And I'm looking at these black chocolate boys talking to these white girls, and the white daddy got the camera like this. Say yes, darling. Say yes. I said, what the hell did happen to the world? Because 20 years ago, they tried to string his ass up. So what I'm saying is, even if you go to the mall, and I don't remember who I told this to. I said, go to the mall and just sit on a bench and just watch the younger generation that's coming up now. And look at them. You're going to see black dude, white girl, black dude, Hispanic girl, black dude, Asian girl.
Because they're not bound by our societal norms. They just aren't.
Right. But I'm telling you, in 15, 20 years, they're going to have to take black, white, and they're going to have to put other on applications. I'm telling you, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. The melting pot's going to be different because the society has changed. These little white boys now, they like black girls. These little black girls now like white boys, and vice versa.
Let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever done your genealogy, or you haven't done Ancestry.com, or have you done 23andMe?
Nope, because I'm scared if I do, I'm going to want to go to Africa and join my tribe. I'm going to want to go to Africa and join my tribe.
I'm 16% non-black, so yeah.
Exactly.
But again, but that reasoning is far different than what people are coming to today. People are coming by choice. My folks didn't necessarily have one, so that's a different.
And I agree.
That's a totally different.
There you go, Mr. Being a cook now.
Scenario.
Do not disagree.
Right. I did have one, and I do have to go. I did have
generational wealth conversation too.
Absolutely.
Tulsa. There are plenty of examples. Rosewood. So absolutely.
Indeed. I did have one question, and I do have to go. So you guys might want to carry this conversation when I'm gone. I agree with what you were saying about, again, the models that we've seen that may have to change. Now, there's been another model that has been in our community. Now, R. Payne mentioned earlier, talking about feminism. And I know in recent years, there has been a rift in feminism between white women and black women. There was a famous blow up, Tamika Mallory, back in 2020. They were going to do this women's march. And when Black Lives Matter and a lot of those things were going on, and basically the white women being silent, and women started to ask the question, has feminism been good for black women?
No.
And so my thing is, do you think, from the doctor's perspective, has feminism forged pros? You could say that there might be some positives to it, but could we say that some of the things, especially when it comes to, again, to family, can feminism take some of the blame for some of the attitudes that we're not saying? And again, I'll reiterate this 10,000 times. We're not saying for a black woman not to advance, but it's what you're giving up. No one's saying you can't have your career and have your family. But some of the messages that may have came out of feminism was that you don't need, that's optional for you. Whereas for us, we're looking at it that no, family is essential. That's essential to our survival. And so I've seen several black women feminists who have been raising the questions like, look, did we buy too much into this? Or in fact, even more so, have we been used by the feminist movement to the detriment of our families? Because our model is we want to grow with our black men. We don't want to leave our black men over to the side. And so has some of that messaging in feminism been destructive to our particular situation as black people, that we may need to, again, come up with a new model? So just as you're saying, we may need a new model for traditional family, we may need a new model
exactly
in terms of how women look at, feminism, or call it something else or something new that, again, does not leave or say that you have to leave our men and form something different. So I would like you to comment on that, on the overall, what your general view of feminism has been a good thing for us in our specific situation. And I would love to hear your comment. But again, before I go, it was a pleasure meeting you. I appreciate the conversation and the dialogue. I look forward to talking to you again. Black man, as usual, thank you for the platform. And this is the godly work that I'm talking about. When you do put this kind of content on, we're all better for this. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Carry on the conversation, gentlemen. I will see you guys later in the week. You guys
all right, see you later, Mr. Bennett. Hey,
Yes,
before you answer that, Doc, let me say this real quick. Let me add to what Mr. Bennett said. I think that the notion is this. The feminist movement did not help Black women at all. I think that Black women have been used as a tool to destroy everything, and then the white women, they run. Let me give you an example. When the feminist movement happened, the white women started it. Then they got the Black women involved, and then the white women went back home with their husband and their kids, and the Black women stuck with it. Right? That's exactly what happened. They used Black women to get to where they want to be, and then they backed out of it. Just like Roe v. Wade. Same thing. Same situation. That white woman was the face of it, and these Black women and Margaret Sanger and all of them came in. Let's get all these babies out of here. 23 million and counting. Abort them. 23 million Black babies aborted. Abort them. Right? The white woman that was the face of Roe v. Wade, she never had an abortion. She lied. It just came out, and all these Black women just took on the notion, oh, we can get rid of our children. 23 million Black babies. How many of those were the next senator, congressman, doctor, great entertainer, dentist, school teacher? How many of those are those 23 million kids that were deleted by our women? Right? Because that's another thing I'm going to add too. But you can answer after you answer Mr. Bennett's question. Our women lead in abortions, 23 million and counting. And I'm just and
I just quick before I go back to
go ahead.
That's more about economics than anything else. I'm very conflicted on the issue of abortion. I'll just say that, but it's still a woman's right to choose. It's their body. I'll definitely say that. But that's more about economics than it is about anything else to me. Now, going back to his women's suffrage and the feminist movement. So even from the beginning of the women's suffrage movement, when they first went to the White House, they didn't allow Ida B. Wells, right, to be a part of them going to the White House in the early 19th century. They didn't want her there, but she went and took her own seat and sat at the table because they didn't want to conflate the issues of women's rights with race, right? So it's never been, to me, a one movement that was inclusive of our Black women from that standpoint. Now, I know there are some women that will disagree with me because they feel a lot of those advantages that were gained by that movement in turn helped them in some ways. And that's another time, and that's another conversation. But as to his point about how that has been a damage to our Black families and our Black community because it was never intended for Black women, I think there may be an argument there, but I don't believe that just because of gaining those rights, right, the right to vote, the right to earn equal wage, the right to not, and again, from a weaker, and I won't say, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, from a standpoint, from a biological difference between men and women, muscle density, fat composition, the physical attributes of a male, that for the most part, there are some, of course, outliers. Men dominate physically because of, again, bone density, muscle mass. But outside of those aspects, I don't, it's hard to make a case that just because they receive those rights, that now it destroys the Black family. Because that's saying that in order for them to want to be with us or choose to be in a collective effort to build and grow together, that they have to be subjugated in order to do so, that they have to be less than other than to do so. It's the human rights. And I think it's a remessaging. The remessaging has to be to the point that he made, that the Black family is the foundation, that the Black family moving together, building generational wealth, moving in a direction that one supports and nurtures our legacies is the correct message. I don't think there ever will be an opportunity to gain traction with our women by saying that because you got your rights, that because you got the opportunity to be a human being within this country, that you've now destroyed the Black family. So now I don't want to extrapolate and take these comments to that premise, but it's hard for me to separate that, because what I'm hearing is that, okay, well, because they're independent, because they want specific things. Now, where I think you make a valid point when you showed that video, where it's hypocrisy to say, well, I still want you to be this traditional male, but I want to be this new age woman. That's hypocrisy. I call it how I see it. But we can't, for me, and I'll just say me, there's no way I'm going to believe that just because you want autonomy, I want you to make the choice to be with me. I want you to make the choice to say, let's get together and let's make some beautiful Black babies that build beautiful Black legacies and celebrate Black excellence. But the pathway forward will never be that you need to subjugate yourself to me in order for the Black family to be successful. That's a losing message.
Doc, let me ask you a question. Earlier, we saw a video where a family had a thriving business, right?
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, how can we build generational wealth with no generation if we don't have kids? How can we square that sum?
And again, abortion is a very tough conversation. I from a Christian standpoint, from a belief in life standpoint, to loving life standpoint, it's a very tough conversation.
And another thing I want to ask you too, earlier, I think at the beginning of the show, we were talking about women's roles in jobs and businesses, and we talked about them being able to do the job, right?
Correct.
And being physically able to do it. But at the same time, we talked about bone density and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
they're different.
And earlier we talked about gender roles, and one person cut the grass, and we just saw Anissa say, "I'm not cutting no grass."
Yeah.
When she's actually able to do it, so she's not relieving any pressure off of her man at all. But at the beginning of the show, you said that women are capable. So I just wanted you to make sure that you reiterate that to Anissa, to say that, yes, we do believe in you, sister. We believe in your strength and everything that you are, everything that you say you are. And I think you should share in the load and the labor if that's what you really want to do.
And your key point in that whole conversation is what you want to do, what you agree to do, what we come together and say, this is what our relationship will be. And I think that's the more important aspect. Where the divide is, and to close out Bennett's comments and his question, where the divide is still these perceptions. And now, to your point, Dwayne, you're correct. What came out of that feminist movement was, in some aspects, of saying, I don't need a man. I don't have to be with a man. And you know what? If that's the type of life you want to live, then that is your choice. But recognize, to your point, lost in translation, that then it's harder to build generational wealth. It's harder to have that foundation, because now you don't have a backup. You don't have a partner. You don't have that love, that support that you typically would have in that bonding pair. So I do have to admit, I do have to jump in a few moments. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be here. I like dissenting points of view, because again, we can have dialogue, we can have conversations, and I can see where some of the points are valid, where some of the points are, again, stereotypes and perceptions. But it all underscores for me the need to have these conversations. And I know this is Black Men Unfiltered, but I would love to see this conversation be re-upped in the future with a few women on here. So to one, because I can't be accountable for for them their thoughts and what their beliefs are, but also to balance out the conversation, because you know what, there's still a part of that conversation that needs to be had where their perceptions have to be addressed too.
You know, I got one last question for you. When you talked about women's rights, right? And to me, it seems like it all centers around money. Is that a fair statement?
No,
because earlier we said that if a woman has to have a right to abortion, is that more of a health concern or is that more of a wealth concern?
They tried to make it about health concerns, and there are. I don't deny that there are instances, but the data bears it out. Most of the time, when it comes to that decision, that difficult decision to abort a fetus or an embryo, is more statistically bared. It's more about finances than it is about anything else.
Okay, now that we got down to the finance portion of it, would you agree that the video that we showed earlier about the family who had the multiple generations of gold makers, and gold chain makers in that whole huge factory, do you think that, according to all the people that were there who were related, a whole factory full of family members, I don't think they were worried about money. And I don't think they used that as an excuse not to have children. As a matter of fact, I think it was the exact opposite. To me, it looks as if they wanted to have more children to make the business bigger. How do we convince our women that direction leading to wealth leads to their freedom, instead of having to punch the clock and be a slave on someone else's job until you're 65, 70 years old and not really living life the way that they want to live it, going on vacations for the summer instead of every 2 weeks, once a year, that type of thing, and having to argue with whether or not I can take care of my child by myself. Real world conversations about debt and things of that nature. How do we convince them that building a family leads to their freedom, instead of having them thinking that the family is slavery?
I agree. And part of that, again, goes down to the perceptions. And then, of course, that inviting language that was just discussed about them getting their voting rights. And again, most of the acts associated with women's rights, the equal pay didn't come up until the latter part of the 20th century. But the majority of those bills were about their protection, being beaten by men, raped by men. Those things do still happen, right? But to your point, and I love the fact that you're laser focused on the financial gain of the family unit, the financial security of the family unit coming together to build legacy. The data bears it out. The data bears it out. When you look at the successful individuals, the successful industries, even your largest corporations, the units that were formed to really drive that success really were based in family units. And part of why we struggle from a wealth building standpoint is that we don't come together as families to do that. And I'll use as an example. I lived in a neighborhood here, and it was an Indian family that came over first to the U.S. So what that Indian family did, they paid for the home and bought another home, moved out of the home, and every family that comes over, not single individual, not woman by herself, man by herself, but every family that came over, they lived in that home for 1 year, rent and build free, until they built right. They built themselves up and got to where they were financially stable. And the only thing they were asked to do was, in turn, pay for a year for another family to come over and do the same thing. But they still left as the foundation of those transactions, a family unit coming together, support, emotional support. And I don't want to seem that it's simply all about financial, but it's also about emotional well-being, mental health, coming together to praise and serve God. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I can't even debate or debunk any aspect of what you just said. The only thing I will just add to and say is, and reiterate again, we've got to make them understand that the videos that they're seeing, think about, and I'll use a colloquial example. Think about Cardi B. Cardi B became successful, got a husband, had children, and the minute that situation devolved, right, that had hurt her, that bothered her. But again, as she entered into that relationship, it's no coincidence that the fame started happening, all the things changed in her life. There was the hip love and hip hop New York, right? Ratchet on there, but you're in a relationship, you're supporting each other, you build something. We've got to hold up more of those examples because they're out there. We just don't celebrate them.
Absolutely. The reason why I say that is because I think the breakdown comes to not brokering an honest conversation between the sexes. And what I mean by that is that the minute that somebody feels slighted or their insecurities get rubbed up against, they want to dominate the conversation. And they're never what I call invited into the conversation. It really becomes a monologue, but there's only one person in the room. And I think the issue that women are having now is that men are starting to speak up. There are more men with microphones now who are standing up and saying, hey, look, here's my side of the story, and you can't shut me up. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a conversation with somebody yesterday that was like that, and she wanted to run on with her conversation. I said, you didn't even ask me what my point of view was. I asked you to start the conversation, what your point of view was, but you wanted to tell me how I was wrong. You see what I'm saying? Or what we were talking about was something wrong instead of asking my point of view. So the main thing was never the main thing.
Taking the toxic parts of masculinity and then pushing them back on us is not a good thing either. But before
I don't believe in toxic masculinity.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, we'll have that one. We'll talk about it.
Well, just keep in mind that there's still a law on the books in Louisiana that you can beat your wife with a stick no bigger than your thumb at the courthouse at noon. So, real issue. So that's in Louisiana. That's still on the books. Please look it up.
So how many episodes and cases of brothers that complexion like you have done that? How many do you know of in Louisiana?
None. And nobody
in my neighborhood, hey, to speak to what you said earlier, in my neighborhood, we don't beat women. You know
exactly. Exactly.
I don't know any guys that beat women.
Beating women. No.
It's like you said earlier, you don't know anybody who does whatever it was you was talking about earlier, but we don't know any guys that beat women.
And I'm glad you said that, and I'm happy to hear that because I don't know those dudes either, nor would I associate with them. But before I go, I do want to hear you tell them how we know each other.
Guys, this is my brother-in-law.
Okay. Welcome, brother-in-law.
And I cannot wait because he's busy. He was just, let me show y'all this picture of him in Washington.
Okay.
He was busy in the march.
Actually, that was in Austin at Houston.
Austin. I'm sorry, in Austin. Yeah.
And I just got back from DC dealing with the president that some black men voted for. But that's a whole other.
Make a sci-fi. Okay, I'm making. Okay, I see ya.
Yeah, I was waiting on him to hit it, but I don't know why he.
Well, because I'm here representing me, and I just have to.
Okay. I
have to make sure I say that.
But man, I appreciate you coming up, man. And I also, bro, these conversations. I think we planted a lot of seeds for future conversations, and so we'll continue to have those conversations because
I'd love to invite some other individuals because this is a great conversation, a great space. No judgment, safe space, and I appreciate that. But I do want to circle back. So when I talked about earlier how my dad had over 21 kids, so they thought I was the youngest until they found out about his wife.
We was at the funeral, bro.
Yeah,
and they said all the kids stand up, bro. It was. I said, "Damn, wait a minute, bro. That was something else to see, boy. That was something else to see, boy." Gentlemen, it's a lot of them.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Please keep the conversations going, and I appreciate you for being Black men that are willing to have these conversations, have these dialogues, to have put difference of opinions and perceptions out in this space. So y'all have a wonderful day.
But Kevin, before you go, Friday, you know Jason Wilson, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, you got to look him up. Friday, we're talking about why Black men struggle to communicate with Black women. So if you free, I'll send you the link.
It's 8 o'clock.
8:30.
I tell you what. Let me take a look at my calendar. Check my honey-do list, because I do have a honey-do
list. Absolutely, I agree.
And I'll make sure to let you know no later than tomorrow by noon.
Okay, I appreciate you, my guy.
Before you go, man, I want to thank you for coming out and also being a good sport, because normally when we bring guys in, they want to waffle and shuffle and stuff like that. And I'm glad you kept the conversation above board. Anytime you want to come by, you're more than welcome. We'll appreciate having your presence and giving us a different perspective. So I want to say thank you for coming out today.
No, thank you. Thank you guys. And all right, good evening and God bless.
All right, much love to you, my brother.
All right,
man. So hey, guys, another show in the books, man. I appreciate you coming up. JT, you weren't able to get into the I ain't gonna say that because I have to do it. But... Wow.
You're on mute, JT.
You're on mute, man.
So anyway.
I was back there. I was just listening to the conversation, bro.
Oh, okay. I thought you had controls back there. My bad.
I didn't want to interrupt whatchamacallit. I just left a message and I was up there.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to interrupt. Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys, man, so much, man. I appreciate you guys. You are we always had these good conversations. And I will say this. I like these kind of conversations are not going to get a lot of views simply because they're conversations that don't deal with drama, cussing, hollering at each other, screaming at each other. It's just a difference of opinion, right? We all having a conversation, a difference of opinion. Most people don't like quiet, intellectual conversations. It has to be, we have to be cussing each other out in order to get what we need as far as views and, whatever, cash apps, whatever the situation may be. So,
yeah, because we're better than that, man.
We're better than that. So I was thinking Friday's going to be a hell of a show. Mr. Wilson's been out here really, really bad. I mean, down bad. He's been really bad out here telling women this. We got it Friday.
What's he telling? What's he telling?
Well, he was just on the show with B. Simone.
Oh, geez.
And he told, and B. Simone has said that she slept with women, men, had threesomes, foursomes, eightsomes. She's been out there in them streets really, really bad. And he told her the reason that you went through that because God was saving you. Because anything that's worth anything is in a safe. So you've been safe with God. He's been protecting you. And all those things you've been doing, he just covered you while you were doing them. And he was holding you for your husband. And she started crying. God saving me? He said, yeah, God saving you. He said, I ain't come. He said, listen, God sent me here today to tell you that. I ain't come here to promote no book. I came to tell you that God is saving you for your husband. All the things you did while you was doing them, God had his arms around you, protecting you.
Oh man!
Look at loss. Instead of just saying you're a whore, he said it was God. God did it. Lost in translation. God did it. That's why we can't get away from get away from our roles.
Hey, you can't beat God's giving, man.
No matter what.
No matter how hard you try.
Oh my God. All right, man. Well, listen, man, I love y'all, man. Y'all my brothers. I love y'all, man. JT, I see y'all. Listen, what's tomorrow? Wednesday? Sports show tomorrow. They're going to be talking about Luka. How the hell did he get out of Dallas? I have no idea how that happened. But they're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Way out of Dallas. That's what happened.
Man. And then Wednesday night, we're going to be talking about religiosity, the conundrum part 3, true or false. The Bible is a testament of Rome's manipulation. That's after the sports show. And then on Friday, we got Jason Wilson explains why Black men struggle communicating with Black women. And then on Tuesday of next week, because I got to get our pain to get your show for Monday, if you're feeling up to it. Tuesday, we're talking Black women leaving the faith. The Bible oppresses women.
Oh man,
that's good. That's Tuesday. So we got some good conversations, Doc.
Well, Monday, I'm coming back with part 3. Black folks post DEI. When did Black become synonymous with DEI?
Right.
Yeah, but
we need to talk about that.
You do. In our pain, everybody complaining about DEI, but DEI only helped 4% of Black people.
That's what I'm saying.
We've been doing this thing the whole time.
Big argument about DEI, but DEI ain't helped for 4%. And guess who it mainly helped? White women.
Exactly.
And these folks.
There you go, JT, and them right there.
What's that?
Yeah. The LGBTQAI plus ZZZI.
People off because I talked about a little bit. It's the race hustlers that we have that made Black synonymous with DEI, Sharpton and those guys, making us the face of that, like no Black man ever had a job because of merit. And the more they fight that DEI is for Black folks, that every time somebody sees a Black person in a position, they automatically think that he got some kind of preference, or she got some. It's just bullshit, man. It's absolute bullshit.
I really want to get Dr. Kevin back on Tuesday simply because when we talk about women, because there's women, I have video footage clip for this show where women are saying more Black women are becoming atheists because the Bible oppresses women by making them subservient to their husbands.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
And so she had a T-shirt on in the video, and I don't know if I'll have it clipped. She has a T-shirt on in the video that says, "God sent Jesus to throw him under the bus so he can get clout." That's what it says on her shirt.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man,
so she for real. She says she's trying to recruit women every day to leave the church.
Oh, even going back to that DEI, did you guys see the clip where my man Al Sharpton had the people marching? They was talking about boycotting Target, but they were marching through Costco.
Yep, he gave him $25.
Does that make any sense?
Here's my thing, man. I don't want us to be the face of charity and incompetence. I want us to be the face of excellence, having excellent conversations, having excellent generations. You know what I'm saying? Just being excellent all the way around. And when people start talking about we need a hand up and all this other foolishness, that just makes us look bad, man. And I'm all against that. I know we're capable because we've done great things before. Our past is an indication of that. And I think we need to get back to that, man.
Absolutely, brother. And we need to continue to talk about it, man, because, man, it's just so many things. I'm going to say this and we're going to get out of here. I think the truth, telling the truth today will get you dismissed, canceled, fired. The truth is something else, man. And people don't want to be a part of the truth no more. Now, I'm talking about not the church. I'm telling you right now, man, I saw a video last week of a man doing praise and worship in some fencing tights. Right? And he doing praise and worship with a shirt way up here, dick print out, and everybody looking at it. And he just praise the Lord, everybody. Come on. Right? And my thing is, nobody's gonna say nothing because those sissies are good for business.
How did he clap again, black man?
So there's the sissies are good for business. I think that in all the churches now, not I'm gonna say all of them, a lot of the churches, sissies are good for business. And even if they're not gay, the effeminate men who dress like women and who wear ankle bracelets and ankle pants and leopard skin clothes and tiger skin pants, and they flip their lip back when they sing and break their wrist when they turn back. The shit is crazy.
And toe rings.
Oh yeah, shit. That man, listen. Anytime you start the song and you say yes, no, no, yes, Praise the Lord, everybody. Yes, yes, yes. No. Listen, one more thing. So the kids got a new song out, guys. I don't know if y'all heard the new song. The new song is called Retarded. Okay.
What?
Yes. The dance move is, they said, throw your hand in the air. My kids put me onto this, so just pray for me. Throw your hand in the air and break your wrist, then across your chest and try to bite your ear and go, ay, ay, ay. That's the best.
Hold on. Is this actually on the radio?
Sir, everybody in the video doing this. Put your
This
hand
is
in the
on
air
the
and
radio.
break your wrist, then across your chest and try to bite your ear and go, ay, bro, I don't know what else to say. I've heard it all. I've seen it all. I told my kids I better not catch you doing on beat your ass. I better not catch you doing that shit. At no game or nothing. Because they're gonna play it at the game. Imagine a whole school. Put your hand in the air now, break your wrist, put it across your chest and try to bite your ear and go,
This generation got the spirit of Gen X in them. They got the spirit of Gen X in them.
Coach Bird, y'all ain't shit laughing. Y'all going to hell. Coach Bird, you going to hell. JT, you going to hell. All y'all going to hell. Y'all got his shades on trying to hide it. He going to hell.
But you acted it out.
Huh?
I said you acted it out.
Right.
Okay, hold on, Coach Bird. You coaching these boys in football. You go to a game and they play it in the game. They doing this. Put your hand in the air and break your wrist, cross your chest, now to bite your ear and go. Dude, why? I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it for y'all. Hold on.
Jesus
I'm gonna play it. I think I still got it on my phone.
That's gonna be the time when Jesus shows up because he's gonna personally roundhouse you in a pit of hell.
I'm gonna play it for y'all. Hold on a minute. I think I still got it on my phone.
I'm glad I heard about that from you instead of going to a game and see some kids doing that.
And you see all the kids on there doing this. Come on, man. Come on, man.
They gonna get canceled.
Yeah, come on, man. Everybody gonna be doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump got up and did it.
It's offensive.
Put your hand in your air, break your wrist, cross your chest, break your ear. Yeah. Oh my God! Hold on, I'm trying to find. I think I got it right here.
They messing with the retarded kids now.
Man, they messing with the kids. Man, they messing with them. They doing them real bad.
I told you this generation got the spirit of Gen X in them, man.
They don't have no filter, bro. No.
Everybody's catching strays.
Nobody's safe.
That's crazy. Hold on.
Oh, that's messed
up. I found it. Listen. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can play it. I'm put it on the big screen. Oh. I got the
You ain't right, man.
What's this? Listen. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on, I'm just gonna play the audio. Listen.
Look. Put your hand in the air and try to break your wrist. Then across your chest and try to bite your wrist and go.
Dude, listen to the background at the beginning. Listen.
Look. Put your hand in the air and try to break your wrist. Then across your chest and try to bite your wrist and go.
It's crazy, bro.
I'm done, man. I'm done.
Bro, when I tell you, if I go to a game, but I'm gonna be going to some, and they bust out with this, bro, they're gonna have to call ambulance come get me, boy. I'm gonna be bad. I'm gonna laugh my ass to death. I'm gonna tell y'all that now. That's ridiculous.
That's funny, man.
That ends our show.
Hold on, man. You sit in their house and think of them lyrics. Throw your hand in the air and break your wrist across your chest and try to bite your ear.
They were. Let me tell you what it was. They was vibing off of instrumentals, Somebody came up with that shit and they was like, we gonna put this shit on TikTok.
JT, they was blazed out, man.
They was blazed out. They was smoking weed. They were doing
JT, you think it's gonna be bigger than this Cole and the D?
Nothing is bigger than it's
man.
Cole and the D.
When Cole and D came out, Ricky Smiley really blew it up. Ricky Smiley is the one put it on the map.
Came out like 13 years ago.
It's so cold,
and it's still rocking.
Man,
the best, worst rap song ever. And then the craziest part was they did the video. It was crazy. They did the video in a little bitty cemetery, right next to this recreation center, and the way that they did it, like everybody in Detroit, they pretty much know. If you're on the west side of Detroit, you know what Bustles is. And that's where they did the whole song. And she was actually trying to do a tribute to, the people that she lost, real people in her family that she lost. And she didn't know that thing was about to go viral. And they had her on, doing interviews with her and everything. That song is so awful, man.
Man.
That song is awful, but it was the heart. It was in her heart to do it. So,
hey, did Luka play tonight?
I don't think so.
No, he ain't playing tonight.
Okay, the Lakers blowing the Clippers ass out. Oh, damn, pause. All right. Well, man, hey, love y'all, man. Y'all my brothers, man. I'll see y'all tomorrow for the sports show. We got to find out what's going on with Luka, why they got him up out of there. Our pain to be not busy, man. We love to have you. Wednesday night, we got Boss Man tomorrow night at 8:45 Central Standard Time. And Thursday, we got my boy Lost in Translation coming through. They're doing a Valentine's Day show, so I don't know if he's going to have the baby all ready for y'all or not, do a dance for y'all on the screen. I don't know. They call him Liquid Nitro, so.
He ain't gonna have nothing on but suspenders.
Yeah, JT gonna come through. They call JT Night Heat. And then,
Night Heat.
Night Heat. I have mosquitoes all around my head and shit.
R-Pain, he's the continent because they say when he strip, he everywhere at one time. And then last but not least, Coach Berg is Sunny Delight. So, ladies, if y'all need anything, y'all need a bar mitzvah, a wake, or anything, dances or anything whatsoever, please call these guys. They are available. Together, they are the Avengers. So, make sure y'all reach out to them. All right, man. Love y'all. Peace.